Hello, welcome and good evening. And here we have another piece of equipment for our 286 machine. We already have the ad-lib sound card in there, and at least temporarily we had the Tandy sound card in there, which will probably move back in there once I got the back bracket actually printed. Still in the phase of designing it with a friend of mine, and he will print it. But it's not as easy as it looks. So yeah, besides that, there will be a third sound card in here. And it's this one here. It's called very generically the PC MIDI card. It's a clone of the MusicQuest MIDI interface card, which in turn is basically a clone of the Roland MPU401 interface, which is the de facto standard for DOS PCs for attaching MIDI devices, MIDI synthesizers to it. There are a lot of famous ones, and as you've seen in an earlier video, I've got the Roland SC55 Mark II, but so far I didn't have any way to attach it to my 286 PC. So this device here is a community effort. The original MusicQuest came with a very similar layout to this. This one got some advantages over the original. First of all, you can still get it new, and it's very nice, shiny blue PCB with gold-plated contacts. That's very nice. It comes with this breakout cable, DB9 connector, and then two DIN ports for MIDI in and MIDI out, so you can even record using this if you want to. Well, I don't plan, at least not for now, but you can basically use your retro PC as a music station, basically. What else do we have on here? Let's zoom in. So let me get this into shot. The core of this whole thing is this CPU here. That's a microcontroller, a Zilog Z8, comparable to the Zilog Z80, but with a very small PROM and RAM inside, so it's basically a full computer. Some logic chips, programmable gate array, some flip-flops here for, I don't know, probably turning off non stuff. This one, I guess, is another ROM, probably. Can't see below it, but it's probably a ROM. An EEPROM by the looks of it. A little bit of static RAM for, I guess, buffering. An optocoupler, which I guess decouples the MIDI port electrically from the rest of the thing. And basically it's just the I connecting the I/O here. And some other, I think, discrete logic chips. I think I see some 74 series here. And then on the top here, there's even a wavetable connector. So if you don't have one of the external MIDI boxes or can't afford one, they are cheap, Waveblaster compatible enhancements. Shop sells the very famous, what are they called? Dreamblaster, I think. They are Waveblaster compatible boards for like 30 euros or something, brand new. And I guess they're decent quality, pretty good, I guess. And you can plug those on here. They are basically compatible to the Waveblaster interfaces found on SoundBlaster 16 and compatible. There's even an audio out then, which is only used if you have the synthesizer installed. Otherwise you need the external, obviously. Plus, there are a few jumpers here. Those are actually quite funny because they regulate the volume of the Waveblaster in 3 discrete steps for left and right channel. Never seen that? Pretty intriguing and pretty cheap to implement. Probably cheaper than some potentiometers. Alright, down here you can set the port, the address of the card, which is by default, if the jumper is closed, it's 330 hex, and if open, it's 300. But most games expect 330 to be the MIDI port. And also you need an IRQ. You can choose between 3, 5, 7, and 2. 2 being cascaded with 9 on 80 boards, but 2 is the default for the MIDI interface. So with this default configuration, most games will simply work out of the box. Okay, all that's left to do now is to put this thing back into the machine and give it a whirl. We will try out some games, run Windows and try to set up the card there. Yeah, let's see how it sounds and how it works. So, the card comes not with any software, but on the net you can still download the original MusicQuest software, and I've installed it here under the PC MIDI directory, and the only thing that you actually really want to try is the MQ Diag tool. It's the diagnostic. It will auto-detect the card, if possible. If there are any problems, it will not detect it. It has some options to debug the MIDI channels. You can enable a metronome, because this card was obviously made for actually making some music. So in the background you will hear it now. Well, we don't need that actually. It's just so that we see that the card is actually working and outputting something to the Roland device. Since the cables on the plug are not labeled with MIDI in or out, this is a good test if you got the right one, because connecting to MIDI in on both sides will do basically nothing. Right, so let's check out a game that was very well tuned to the Roland MT32, which we're now emulating with the SC55, namely Monkey Island 1. This should sound pretty decent on this device. Most games come with a setup utility to choose the sound card, and what you want to be looking here for is either to set it to Roland MT32 compatibility or General MIDI or MPU 401. Here, for example, is the Prince of Persia 2 setup, and you can select as sound and music device the Roland MT32. Other programs will call it just Roland or General MIDI or MPU 401. Here you can choose the interface card and it will already say, yeah, I'm expecting 330 and IRQ2, just as described before, and saving the sound settings and running the program should actually lead to some pretty decent results. Let's hear it. And of course, the same goes for all the Sierra games. They actually started supporting the Roland devices very early on. And here you can also switch to use the Roland MT32, and in the newer games even combined with a SoundBlaster card for digital effects. Here we just use the Roland MT32 because, well, we don't have a SoundBlaster in this system yet. Okay, let's check out SpaceQuest 1 using the Roland device. Well, so much for the games. Windows is actually also pretty easy to install. You just go to the control panel of Windows 3.x, go to the drivers section, and then you add drivers, and here I already did it. The driver is called Roland MPU41, and here you can check that you have got the right port settings, 330X and interrupt 2. And then this is already basically what you need to do. You can then close this and go to the MIDI mapper. Here you can set up different mappings, for example for general MIDI or MT32 attached devices, or the adlib if you have the adlib installed. And what it will do is enable or disable different sounds, remap them to different banks, depending on which device is actually attached and being used. So here, for example, we can remap the MT32 not to use the SoundBlaster, but to actually use the MPU41 and also use the MT32 patches. After you did this, you can then listen to some classic Canyon MIDI song. We'll do this in a moment. Now, all in all, I would say this device worked as expected. It's basically plug and play because you don't have to install any drivers for DOS. For Windows, of course, there's one small driver that you need to install. But other than that, compatibility seems to be extremely good. All the games I threw at it worked. I have one issue with SpaceQuest 3 not wanting to run, but yeah, I have to dig into that. That was one of the earliest games supporting the MPU41. Other than that, all the games worked fine, and yeah, you can even attach a Waveblaster compatible device. So let's hear some Canyon MIDI, and that's it for today. Thanks for watching, share, like, and subscribe if you want to. Good night.